Alrighty, folks, it's 7:02. We'd like to call the meeting of the Old Saybrook Board of Education to order. We're going to start with the upright with leader. The United States and the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first on our agenda is community communications. Do we have any citizens in the audience that would like to speak? Thank you so much. Please state your name and your address, please.
Okay. My name is Ava O'Rourke. I live at 6 Patterson Place, in Saybrook. I'm a student at the high school. I'm a senior, and I basically am making like a graduation appeal. Because so basically over the summer, I'm completing 2 credits of makeup for recovery. Because throughout the past few years, I've done online school where I didn't have like the structured gamut credits done. And because these 2 credits, which is half of credit of gym, half credit of health, and then a credit of science, I'm now allowed to walk for the ceremony next week. I've called with like Mr. Drezick and also like just some of the school staff at our school, and I'm just trying to make them feel for that. Next year I'm gonna be attending Merrimack College in their honors program. And I just would love to walk with like my class and my friends. And I'm very like serious student. I've participated in like student government, Mama UN, Tech Club, and some, and just love to walk with class. I'm just getting a feel or be able to walk, not to like get my diploma early, just walk.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your comments. We understand you didn't speak with Superintendent President. Thank you. Okay.
And I also have like papers with like just some evidence that if anybody wants that to help make a decision too.
Probably would be best to share that with the superintendent at some point.
Send it to me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have any other audience? You have citizens that would like to speak?
I just have one question. Is this something, obviously time is of the essence for graduation in less than a week. Is this something that you're going to be following up on that time?
So actually, we've spoken, and the way it currently stands is there's a board policy for graduation requirements that I don't have the ability to overrule. So if the board were to consider that, then that would obviously be a discussion for the board to overrule their own policies.
So
I don't have the
when can
ability.
we have that conversation?
You'd have to make a motion at the agenda, it'd have to get seconded, and we'd have to basically have a vote, we could add it to tonight's. But. You'd have to have the majority, if I recall our bylaws correctly.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Seems a shame not to at least have the conversation.
I did call and I asked like how would that like join into the agenda, and they just said to make a join into the commentary at the start of the Board of Education meeting today. So that's why I also only found this out early May that I would not be allowed to walk. I had already like signed up for my gap and my gown. Which is why it's just such a late meeting. I'm typically more like prepared, but that's why.
Can I make a motion that we engage in this conversation tonight? That's to the agenda.
Second.
Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda for discussion.
Well, you need a vote.
And how many are in favor? So 3 in favor, any opposed?
Yep.
4, 5, vote. So the motion does not carry. So our suggestion is you talk to the superintendent again and share the information, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. The board did act on that. Appreciate your, and good luck. Okay, audience of citizens, do we have any other audiences, citizens that would like to present to the board tonight? Okay. So reports from the student Board of Education representatives.
For the final report of the year, I'm gonna start off with academics. So the selective ensembles concert at the Cape was on June 3rd. There was also a selective choir performance at Goodwin and at the middle school on May 29th. The Expiramos met with their students at Goodwin for the last time on June 5th. There was a senior breakfast and a senior trip on June 6th, and graduation is gonna be on June 16th, so next Monday. The SHED Awards were released on June 4th, and 4 OSHS students were honored, and there were senior awards on May 29th. For sports, the crew season ended and the girls varsity won their state championship for the first time in 11 years. Boys lacrosse had their final game on June 7th against Summers. Softball had their season ended early as they didn't qualify for Shoreline to North States. Baseball lost their first round of states and their season ended, and due to scheduling conflicts, tennis had to drop out of states and their season also ended.
Onto clubs, the Cancer Walk, had their event and they, were able to host over 100 people and raised around $8,000 for various cancer organizations. Health Club went to Goodwin to participate in their wellness day. DECA voted for leadership positions for next year. Quiz Bowl had their last meeting on June 5th, and Film Club held their last meeting on May 29th. And then finally, we have our student opinion section. Prom opinions, students loved the music. The DJ was initially not very popular, but improved through the night. And the live music was a very, like, students loved that addition for this year. The venue was beautiful, but the food was extremely bad. A lot of students just did not eat at all, which was not a very positive part of the night, but otherwise it was a very good experience. And that's all we have for you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your word service.
So one question before I have something to give to both of you. Tell me what SHED is.
It's the Shoreline Heads of English Department, so it's basically like all of the English teachers from high schools across the shoreline come together and they judge different student submissions. And they choose winning pieces in areas of like essay writing and or journalism or story writing for high school students. And for Osage students were honored this year.
Thanks so much. Actually, on behalf of the Osage Board of Education, I'd like to give you a little something for being our supervisor for this year. We totally appreciate your feedback.
And we have a board member question for you.
Live band, did it include current members of the student body?
Yes, there were multiple, it's a band that's student formed from Community Music School in Essex, so there were a few members that aren't from Old Saybrook, but there were two. Elizabeth Clement, who was playing the bass, and then Sasha Siebel, who was playing the piano, so that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was-
Board members, questions? Again, thank you for your services. Very much. Appreciate it. You contributed very well and really had a student voice. Appreciate your service. One more question.
Has there been any conversation on your end about the idea of a 2-year process?
No, JB and I have talked about it, but we weren't sure, it was just, we had that discussion about it last time, and we feel that it would be a really positive suggestion, but I don't know if that's like how that would be made possible, what kind of conversations would have to be had with who, but it would be, we agree, it would be a very great.
I'm sure there's a process. I just wouldn't give
Yeah.
up on it.
Great, thanks again, and we'll move on to correspondence.
We have no correspondence this evening.
Very good. Okay, third item on our agenda tonight is a consent agenda and we're requesting a motion for the following, the board members refer to the following policies that.
I'll make that motion. Alan,
Yeah,
second.
and seconded by, yeah, a motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yeah, it's true. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. So education issues for discussion and possible action. The Old Saybrook Middle School Main Street math presentation. I think that quite continue to see the middle school is here tonight.
Hey, everyone. I'm really excited to be here tonight. My name is Stacy Anderson. I'm the district math coach and coordinator. And in May, I stepped into the role of interim associate principal at the middle school. And as part of both roles, I'm really excited to introduce our 5th grade teachers here tonight. Mrs. St. Germain, Mrs. Mechanics is here, Mrs. Conti is here, and Mrs. Garrett is here too as well. Main Street Math is a project that the 5th grade team started putting together a couple of years ago, and I'm going to turn it over to the 5th grade team in just a moment, but I'm really excited that we have some students here with us to tell you a little bit more about this exciting project. So I'll turn it over to you, Mrs. St. Germain.
Sure. Do we want to set up first?
Yeah, we're gonna do one at a time because we can't then. So I'll hand it when they know this.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
they know it's coming when they're up.
Okay. Okay, and I just have a few notes on my phone just because I don't want to forget. So I'm just gonna just like tell you, oh, yes, that's our little. So we actually have a logo for Main Street Math. Main Street Math kind of came about from my retired colleague and I, Karen Evans. I don't know if you remember her or not.
Yeah.
Longtime teacher. And we thought about this idea for a couple of years and it finally kind of came to fruition. And basically what we were thinking about was making math more connected to making math more meaningful and connecting it to what is going on in the world, right? And we got really excited because we thought of this year-long project where students could kind of evolve throughout the year with this project by creating their own business. So and we got to finally 3 years ago bring it to life through our fifth graders. So our fifth graders tonight are going to explain how it evolves throughout the year, and they're gonna kind of do the talking, so. Shall we? Yeah. So each of these fifth graders are from each of the four fifth grade classrooms.
Good evening, community members. My name is Lila. We are here to talk about our fifth grade Main Street Math project. At the beginning of the year, we walked to local businesses on Main Street to learn about what inspired them to start their business. Then we were able to use our voice and choice to decide what type of business we wanted to create based on our interests. Throughout the year, business owners visited our classes to discuss how they use math, their marketing strategies, and the steps that they take to make their business eco-friendly. For example, my business will use a renewable energy source with solar panels, so we do not use as many fossil fuels. So come to Perfect Pastries for Pets for a delicious pastry. My name is Abby, and throughout the year, we showed how we have mastered our math standards in each unit by writing story problems that apply the concepts to our Main Street Math businesses.
7:15.
Those standards, including fractions, decimals, volume, expressions, measurement, conversions, multiplication, and more. You can see the strategies we use to solve the math problems here on our chartboard. And if you like art, just come on down for a class or supply. That's sketched out. Hi, my name is Samuel. We worked together in many classes to create this project. We created a price list in a technology class. We also created a business sign in our class, in art class. And we created eco-friendly business ideas in science class. We also built our pitch and work on our presentation skills in the charts class. And just want you to know, in my business, you can bring your pets so they can also eat. And if you like this Colombian food, come here with your pet. My name is Ava. During our Main Street Math project, we got better at important skills we need for today's world. We used curiosity, imagination, and entrepreneurship to create a unique business idea. We researched and listen to feedback from business owners and friends to make improvements. Finally, we used our speaking and writing skills to present our project at the Main Street Math Expo in Houston. Come to Pet Paradise and adopt a puppy today. Thank you for having us here to hear about our project.
So I was just gonna kind of open it up and see if any of the board members wanted to ask any of the students, any questions at all about either Main Street Math, like the whole year process, about their individual businesses, anything that you'd like at this moment.
Karina?
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations. Each of you made a wonderful presentation. Do you have a favorite part of the work that you did that you want to share with us?
I think my favorite part was doing the art.
Great. Because it's such down, right?
Art was like the art also making my storefront because I like to be creative
Wonderful.
and I love to draw. My favorite part was creating like business idea. I like making the storefront and getting to decide how it looks.
Nice.
My favorite part was making the eco-friendly business ideas.
And I'd also like to say, I love this poster presentation because this type of skill set and the work that you've done, you may do this when you grow up and go into the business world, because in healthcare, they make poster presentations like this all the time. So I think it's wonderful that you've incorporated not only just the math aspect, but all those other important skills like your presentation style and the artistic presentation of the information. So well done. And I wish you brought samples from Pet Paradise.
It might be next year, we might do the tan stuff.
Just want to say congratulations on your public speaking. That's not so easy to do in front of lots of people, so each one of you did a great job.
Jim?
I also really like the pie charts that you have all assembled and put on your presentations along with the other graphics that you have on there. Did you learn much about computers to be used in presentation for your art?
Was that hard?
That's probably a good skill to learn too.
It was hard for Mrs. Cochran.
Board members, Jane?
Yeah, wonderful presentation. I'm very impressed as somebody who did marketing in my world. This is fantastic. You guys have got the colors and the really attention getting, and then you've got the details with all the numbers and can follow up with great information. So are any of you interested in having a business when you grow up or studying business? Maybe. Good. Did you talk to some of the business owners on Main Street? Yeah. Yeah, and I bet they were pretty excited. Is that gonna be presented to them, or is that?
Yeah, so the businesses that came in, so we've had some regular businesses that came in and presented on certain topics.
Okay.
To all the fifth graders, and then we also visited businesses, so, yeah.
They'll be invited to the expo.
Okay, that's what I was, wanting to make sure that they're gonna be at that. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so, and that's the next thing is that you are all cordially invited, on behalf of Nancy and Heather and, Stacy and myself, that you can all come to the expo tomorrow, right, guys? On our first outdoor Main Street, tomorrow morning from 8:15 to 9:15, just outside the middle school. So if you're able to make it,
Thank
we would love for you to come. You never know what's gonna be on our Main Street tomorrow. Never know. Never know. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was interrupted that was my first day. First thing I experienced when I came to Old Saybrook was Main Street Math, and I got interrupted by a gas leak. So I'm not there, you know where I am.
Thank you again. So next on our agenda is the eighth grade transition presentation.
All right, I have the privilege of introducing three amazing eighth grade students who each had a different role, supporting actually the district. It's been a conversation at the DLT level, about how we can improve the experience of transition from one building to the next, right? Such a small district, only moving, across 3 buildings, but how can we make that better? And what improvements can be made, going from 4th to 5th grade and then from 8th to 9th grade? So we had the privilege of working with Rosalind Garrett, who's in 8th grade, and she did some work out of her work with the Miss President. And we have Nadia Roslanek, right, and Holly Emanuelson, and they did some work with Mr. Wood out of the class called Saber Studies. So they're gonna talk to you a little bit tonight about some of the research that they did, who they spoke to, the information that they gathered, and then some of the work that they did to help some of their peers, right? Some of the younger kids and some of the kids in the 8th grade as they're looking to move on towards the high school. So the show is all yours.
You stand up, guys.
They won't fight.
Fifth graders, we're gonna come back here and swap for the eighth graders.
There we go.
We're going to have that sound.
Joe.
Hi, my name is Holly. My name is Nadia. My name is Rosalind, and we are all eighth graders at Old Saybrook Middle School. Today, we're here to talk to you guys about the work that we did to benefit the transition stages through our school.
So as eighth graders, we're able to take a class called Saybrook Studies. And within this class, we go all around town, learn about its history. And then at the end of our trimester in this class, we are tasked to generate an idea that will benefit our community. So Holly and I came up with a plan to basically ease the 4th graders' anxiety about coming to the middle school. And we figured while doing that, it would also help us in our planning, presenting, and interviewing skills.
This class gave us like the freedom and responsibility in order to create an entire project ourselves. We had to talk to like administrators across schools to like schedule meetings and calls. And ultimately we had to find a time to meet with the fifth graders.
So we felt the importance of this topic because, well, Rosalind's gonna talk about this, but we're 8th graders going into high school year. It's obviously gonna be pretty stressful. You don't know anyone, you don't know the teachers or what to expect. And we felt that being able to talk to the 4th graders as people who are or experienced middle school would kind of help them because they're not getting scripted answers. They're getting true, like real life experience based on like the experience that we've had at the middle school.
These slides consisted of some of the messages we thought were important to share with the fifth graders, such as advice, expectations, and things to look forward to. And these are some photos that were taken.
Hi, recently I was selected Miss President 2025 in my campaign to transition between OSMS and OSHS. For that, I spoke to the former Leadership Council of 8th grade, the Vice Principal of the high school, Mr. Plotkin, and the Associate Principal of the middle school, Mr. Walton, and found out the key issues, which are time management, studying/memorization, homework, grading, and the workload. Although this problem is currently being worked on, I am transitioning into high school myself, which will help me work hand in hand with middle school and high school. As Miss President, I am a student advocate for this issue and will advertise students' needs and voices in significant decisions. After meeting with Mr. Walton and Mrs. Castro, they have also brought to my attention that everyone adapts to new situations differently. While some may have no trouble with the experience, others may struggle and their work ethic could diminish. One way I can solve this would be having conversion charts for standard-based grading in every class. While the Old Saybrook High School focuses on grades on a 50-point scale and GPA calculations, the middle school has a more developmental focus with rubrics to work on foundational skills and personal growth. While some teachers provide these versions of charts, it would be helpful if it were mandatory. For example, a student who gets 3s could be very surprised when it can turn into a B or B plus in the high school. Earlier this year, I also asked former 8th graders their biggest struggles, and they replied with midterm studying, workload management, and time efficiency. Over the summer, my plan is to offer and organize a day-long course where the former freshmen teach the incoming freshmen about studying tips, time management, and workload regulation. This would be a reoccurring cycle every year. This would also offer the mentors community service in a way to help their peers feel more prepared for high school. It took me a very long time to think of a campaign, as there weren't any problems I could think of with Old Saybrook and OSMS as a whole. We have incredible support like the freshman orientation, PJs and prep, and so many high schoolers to talk to. However, with these extra assists that I'm planning to prepare, not only will students feel heard, but excited for a new beginning in their academic journey.
Opportunities we have to succeed in middle school is a configuration we created that shows the aspects of middle school that allows us to go above and beyond in our education and activities at OSMS.
Groups such as the Leadership Council and Executive Board replicate real-life scenarios in the workplace and challenge your independence and maturity.
And the extracurricular activities that our school has can help eighth graders be leaders outside of the classroom and kind of help the younger students get a feel for what the school is like and also get to know students that are attending it.
And truly, this school provides us with countless of opportunities and is one of the reasons why we are able to stand here in front of you today.
OSMS gives students a voice and allows us to communicate our thoughts and advice to make our school better.
And although students may believe it is normal to be able to share your input on how the school is run, many students within different districts aren't given this opportunity.
And we are truly grateful to be given the opportunity to share our hard work and dedication to this project with you. Thank you.
Wow.
Good points. First of all, just fantastic. I have a feeling we may be seeing some of you sitting over here in a couple of years. The transition from standards-based to traditional A through F grading, was there any conversation among students, recommendations to teachers that maybe that transition happened during middle school, like say between 6th and 7th grade, rather than when, you know, you're making that jump to a different building?
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard because when you're in the lower grades, they do, you know, the rubrics for a reason because it really, like I said earlier, it focuses on the fundamental aspect. And when you're younger, like that's really, I think part of the reason that they did it because you want something more than just a grade. You want to learn how you're learning. Which is why I think it would be difficult to do it at a younger age, just because that's where they really come in handy. And yes, it would be great to do that, but I think mostly it would just be more effective, even with 7th and 8th grade as well, but definitely 8th grade just because of the jump and you're getting older, so your learning is maturing and you know how you learn and you start to want to have more of like the cement in the grades.
Excellent. JV, Sam, you experienced this. What do you think?
Did you guys have standard grades? I don't think you guys did. You were, they weren't.
Not just standards-based, but
I mean, it was
the
still
transition.
present, but I think right now in the middle school, they don't get number grades at all, right? It's just the standards or.
Just the classes that translate to high school, figure letter grade, number grade one.
Yeah,
If you're taking like a high school algebra class, then we get like percentages and letters, but besides that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really phenomenal idea. Just from being in groups at the high school, like, super and like talking with students and getting feedback that goes right to our principal and the superintendent. Freshmen this year who like were the first class who had to transition from that standards-based, just getting thrown into the numerical grading, found it to be really, really challenging. That was like, we had, Mr. Jessica can attest, we had so many conversations about the transition, which JV and I wound up sharing here a lot too, so I'm really happy to see it being addressed with you guys and good work is great, but that their people in Super and their peers, they had a really difficult time with that and kind of understanding like, well, if my work is mastery, why am I getting a B and not an A? So I think that's a definitely a really fundamental skill, so I think it'd be great to have it editorially discussed.
Great.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. You ladies are very well poised and clearly did your research, so thank you so much. Not for discussion tonight, but is that being looked at? Because we've heard this concern about standards-based versus letter grading for a while. Is there something? Is there a follow-up? Yeah, we're addressing it at the eighth grade level, like, not necessarily changing how we're doing grades, but having kids have more experiences with like what this would look like as a letter grade or a numerical grade as opposed to, so that they can at least understand how the system works when they get there. Okay. Thank you.
Board members, other questions?
Terrific presentation. I like your initiative in terms of trying to offer a summer course for incoming freshmen. And then the students that are at the high school then could be able to share some of their thoughts and ideas, so it's not so panicking when they may start in the fall. So is that something that you're beginning to roll out?
Yeah, yeah, I was elected for Vice President 2025, and so that was part of my campaign, and that was part of the results of the aspect. And I think, like Nadia mentioned earlier, it's great to have student-to-student connection instead of just, like she said, scripted by the counselors, you know, like you should take this class because that matches your academics, when maybe it's easier, it's harder, you need something more, you know, and it's really great to have that connection with the other students to feel something more, and then also have that connection with the upperclassmen that you can talk to and, you know, really have like a bond and figure out where your place is in high school.
Are you thinking about implementing it this summer?
Yes, hopefully that's my plan. I don't know, time is of the essence, so maybe next year as well, but it will take a lot of scheduling and a lot of dates thrown back and forth, so yeah, we'll see how far it goes this summer, but definitely next summer.
Congratulations.
Aaron?
Yeah, no, outstanding presentation, and three of you are incredibly articulate, your presentation skills are outstanding. So well trained in the middle school, thank you. I love that you're addressing both the transition from Goodwin to middle and then high school. I mean, eighth grade to high school, because our student reps have reported that, you know, the eighth graders have, you know, experienced a bit of stress in that transition, so that you're addressing that is terrific. And I think also that, you know, fourth grade to fifth grade, that angst, I think you're gonna do an awful lot of good with that. So your presentation's outstanding. So congratulations. I think you're gonna do, you know, you're gonna do beautifully at the high school level.
Joe?
But, so one other thing that you just were talking about is course selection. Have you already made your course selections for ninth grade?
Yes.
It's not, I know, having a child myself who went through it 2 years ago, and you guys experienced it. It was a surprise to find out how many options there were in ninth grade that some people aren't even aware of anymore. So I think your idea of having other students come down, that's fantastic. Because a lot of times an eighth grader just isn't aware of the opportunities, because there's so many opportunities in high school between electives and other things that you can do. So that's a wonderful idea for students from the high school to assist in the course selection process.
Yeah. And I think also it's a great incentive almost for the community service as well, and it gets, you know, peers involved and also benefits them a little, but also really gets them into it, and I think it'll be great.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. There's such a student voice at the middle school. I think Dr. Bachman and Mr. Wald, in terms of supporting this and the teachers that support this, there clearly is a student voice in the middle school. So congratulations and thank you.
This presentation that they created, this was 100% them. Every slide, every comment, everything, they've already practiced before they walked in my office, like this is 100%.
Clearly. Thank you for that. For sure.
Well done.
You know, it's not you.
I want them to make sure that they get the credit, because they worked really hard on this, and it's their voice, and that's what was the point behind it, was that we wanted to make sure that they had their voice.
Great work, and your work is not done.
No.
Luck as you go. Other board members? We good?
Well done.
All right.
Great job.
Yeah, students, if you'd like to leave, thank you so much, middle school students, for coming in.
Thank you, parents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You everyone. Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, here.
We live, it's very.
Alrighty, so moving on to the next agenda item, so the Rotary Club donation, superintendent.
I'll back to follow.
Yeah.
But I'll get through the boring stuff, although this is not boring, it's very appreciative. The Old Saybrook Rotary Club made a generous donation of $2,000 to Old Saybrook, Old Lyme, and Westbrook Interact Club for their service of oneself, and per board policy, we have to notify you that this donation will be deposited in the Old Saybrook High School activity.
Wonderful. Have a special letter for
Yes. We'll follow up with the Rotary, but the Rotary is extremely generous, not just with this, but with the programs they run for Student of the Month, and if anyone attended Scholarship and Awards Night, the Rotary is very active. We're very appreciative of it.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next on the agenda, tools for schools, presentation.
So the information is in your packet. I won't read the entire memo from Ms. Listorti, but every year we conduct an annual walkthrough of all of our facilities. Using an EPA program called Tools for Schools. It's the same program that the state of Connecticut now requires schools to use annually to report our indoor air quality. And the mission of Tools for Schools is there, as well as the walkthrough results are also in your packet. This is an annual notification to the board that we have conducted the facility walkthrough and passed.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I just have a question on the high school walkthroughs. There were a few no's. Is there any concerns with, because most, like, there was yeses and everything for all three schools, some NAs, but in the high school, there were some no's that were checked off.
These schools. There are several forms, so I can't necessarily. I believe that was checked as there were no leaks. For one of them, it says verified, the kitchen is free of plumbing and ceiling leaks. Signs include stain disclosures.
Although in the bottom, I think that there's stained ceiling tiles that it talks about.
Right, and when that happens, when they do the walkthroughs, usually the custodians will go through once or twice a year and take care of the ceiling tiles that may be stained, as opposed to every time that one is noted. So
Right. So they
after
confirm-
this, anything that's been noted here has already been addressed.
Okay, so that no is really, no, yes, I checked, but no, there wasn't a problem.
Right, right,
Okay, all right, yeah. I think there were a few others, but we don't need to look at them tonight, but
Right,
as long
right.
as there's a confirmation that everything's okay.
Right, there's one that's posted a sign prohibiting vehicles from idling their engines. Those signs have been ordered because for whatever reason, those signs were no longer there.
Okay.
So anything that you see like that, we would have brought to your attention in the memo if it wasn't something that we had taken
Taken
care
out.
of, but at the time of the walkthrough, that was the situation.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Other board member questions?
Yeah, Karina mentioned the high school. I was just taking a look. And so there's some areas maybe you could answer them under health. IAQ and hygiene education. It says developed information and education programs for parents and staff. It says no, but I don't know what the programs really would be specific to.
The right one. Service. Well, it in itself isn't extremely clear, so health, indoor air quality and hygiene education. Have we developed information and education programs for parents and staff? So not through the health office, is there a specific program? We have the indoor air quality tools for schools program that we do district wide that has representatives, so the teachers get the training through our team training. But we do not, other than posting and allowing and offering to have parents be a part of our indoor air quality team. There isn't a specific initiative, but that's also not a requirement. Other than having the opportunity to have parent representation on the high school team. We also have student representation on the high school team. But specifically, is there a specific program that the health office has created for educating staff and parents? No. But that's okay.
It's just the health office.
Right.
It was also noted, Pam, in the reports, in terms of moisture, like at the elementary, a good one, you know, that was an issue for years and measures were taken. Now we have air conditioning there. What measures in addition have been taken at the middle school and high school? In terms of the humidity?
There isn't much we can do other than air conditioning. So if there is a situation where there's moisture building up on the floor because of excessive humidity, we do have fans that we do to help assist with the evaporation. But atmospherically, there's not a whole lot that we can do without air conditioning to dissipate the moisture buildup. During the summer, if rooms are closed, the custodians will go through and address, because obviously there are most of the rooms in those buildings don't have air conditioning. Where if we get those really, really humid, muggy days, we just remediate as needed.
And Goodwin is, of course, used for the summer program for the kiddos. Do we use the middle school for summer program?
We do, but for the most part, they put those programs in the air conditioned areas.
For the most part.
Yeah, when it's possible, the basketball program will be in the gym and that's not air conditioned, but yeah. They do moderate for the weather. If it's really humid, there's always water access and everything, so.
All right, thank you. Board members, other questions? Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. So authorizing the superintendent to add sections in faculty, a letter from superintendent.
So annually, the board typically won't meet over the summertime. If there's a need to increase, whether it be a section of a class or an increase in FTE, this authorized me to do that in your absence prior to the beginning of school. So for instance, if we have to add a class we had an influx of students in July that come in where class is overloaded, this is what you authorized me to add a section with EP. Obviously, we will keep you informed if we have to make those, but this is the pre-authorization in the event that the board doesn't need those.
We got Karen, then Kareem.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the superintendent to add faculty or sections as needed for the 2025-26 school year.
Second motion, second the Jim. Discussion?
Is there a class, like, is there a max number of students, like, in that decision-making process? When I need to add another section to kindergarten or whatever it is, do we have consideration around, we're not gonna have more than 20 in a class, or?
Yeah, so it varies between, it could be as high as 20, like, usually the cap would be like 25, that would be excessive, right? So if we find ourselves in a position where we're gonna be at 24, 25, I may have to make the decision to say we need to add another section, but then that comes into getting on the class, finding space for it, and all the things that go around it. What's probably more likely is in special education. So let's say we have students who are outplaced and they're returning and we don't have sections for them. It's a lot of that information we don't get prior to the board's dismissal. So that's why this is really that's important.
Between other discussion, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Madam Chair, thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Okay, moving on to the 2025-26 tuition.
So every year we have to set the tuition dollar amount, in the event we are to charge any non-resident, for attending Old Saybrook Public Schools. Last year for this current school year was set at $22,500, and we're proposing that the new change for next school year to be $23,700. That information is also in your packet with the regular education tuition rate. There's also a separate rate for special education inclusion tuition rate in the event that out of district students were to attend our schools.
So we have two motions here. Do we have a motion first, on the table?
Sure, I'll make the motion to move to approve the proposed regular tuition rate. For the 2025-2026 academic year as presented.
Okay, do we have a second? Jane, second. All those in favor or discussion first? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the second
I'd
motion,
like to make a motion to approve the proposed special ed tuition rate for the 2025-26 academic year as presented.
motion second. Jane? Motion in a second. All those in favor, any discussion first or any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. So, 2025-26 staffing update from our superintendent.
So this is good news with the district budget passing. We're happy to report that we're able to take advantage of retirements and resignations. So all certified staff members are employed and we were not required to have any non-renewals of certified staff for this academic year. There may be some reassignment of staff from building to building, depending upon needs, if people were to leave after, obviously today. But as far as any non-renewals for certified staff, it was not.
Fantastic question.
Able to share the retirements. Usually that comes to the board, so we know.
We're still waiting for a couple of, we can send that to the board. We're waiting on there's one other person that we're still.
How many do you have? for the retirement?
Right now, we have 6.
It's a lot. Mostly from one school.
It's a mix. I should say 6 retirement / resignation. We had somebody relocating from the high school that's moving, so I always lump those in together, but there's a total of 6.
Just said you have to do hiring.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions? Very good. Moving on to bid review and approval.
Okay, so in your packet, there's a slight change that we just got notification of earlier today, Pam. About one slight recommendation change that we're making, but per our current board policy. In order to purchase something that's over a particular bid threshold, it requires board approval. So the first would be for the Goodwin vinyl fence replacement and extension. We went out to bid. These are the bids that we received, and we're making a recommendation that we accept the bid from Fence World in the amount of $27,000.
Do we have a motion? Questions first? Ms.
Well, I'll do it during
Very
the
good.
discussion phase, so I'll move.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Karen, second, and discussion?
Is that the one where 2 of the bids were in the 40s?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this
Yes.
was 20, so
Yes.
that sort of caught my
Yeah.
attention,
Yeah.
because I get that we wanna go with the lowest bid, but I'm nervous that what's not included and why is there such a delta?
Okay, so understanding that I absolutely saw the same thing. Fence World has also been, a very regular, vendor with us.
Yeah.
So they did all the chain link fence when we got the security grant. They have done, fencing throughout, they've done the, dugouts at the schools and everything else. So they're reliable, they show up, we know them. Because we are local, they do, and when I spoke with him, he intentionally, wanted to make sure that he gave us the best price possible. The other 2, vendors we have not done work with. One of them actually didn't include in their price a section of fence that we asked them to include, so it's not even actually complete. So I would have the same reservations you would have if we didn't have a solid history with this vendor.
So we're
And that-
comfortable that it's not gonna expand to
No.
be 40 something, okay, good,
No.
thank you.
No, not at all.
Same question, yeah.
Yeah, no, understand, that was the first time, like,
Yeah.
all right, so I sit again and looking at the math and I'm like, all right, they left off a 500, one of them left off a 500 foot of section of fence, and so I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I did look through everything and
if it weren't somebody that we
Yeah.
had used, I definitely, but we have a lot of history with this vendor.
So just a follow-up question, the materials were similar in pricing? or
Yes.
Is it the labor that really?
Well, believe it or not all of them break it out by material and labor. But I did check, I did my research that, vinyl and PVC are in fact the same. Cause I'm like, well, one says PVC, one says vinyl, maybe it's a different grade, a different quality. It isn't. It isn't. So it's not wooden fence. It's something that will last longer. So with what we have for the information, looking at the research, and the other two vendors do a lot more advertising, marketing, and so forth, which I could associate with some increased costs in their pricing.
Very good, thank you so much. So we had discussion, we had a motion and a second, any other discussion? Questions, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So unanimous, Trent, thank you. That's our first motion this evening, the next item.
Next one, we only received one bid, that's for the Goodwin fire alarm system replacement. Alarm systems in a bid for $55,938. So our recommendation would be to approve us to enter into that agreement.
Make the motion.
Okay, we have Karen has a motion, we have a second. Jim seconds the motion, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Trent, unanimous, thank you. Okay,
Okay, and the last one is different from your memo.
It's not the last, there's.
No, the next one is
Thank
different
you.
from your memo. Sorry. you know what,
on this page.
The last one on this page with the middle school library media center carpeting. Originally, we had made a suggestion. The suggested motion was to approve the bid from Westbrook Floor, which is a bit less than the other one from RD Weiss. What's changed is a sample of the material came in today. Anyone's interested in seeing the samples, you can go pop your head into Pam's office. But essentially, the Westbrook flooring samples are square tile carpeting that weren't necessarily as conducive as to what RD Weiss had sent over. It was a little bit more sturdy and I think I don't want to insult anyone, nicer. And for the price difference, and they're also in planks, which is a bit more appealing. We didn't have that information prior to this evening, so Pam actually handed this to me before we walked in and said we have to change our recommendation. So the recommended motion would be for RD Weiss for the library media center.
Okay. Thank you. We have a
Second.
second. Steve, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Very good, motion passes unanimously. Trent, thank you. Okay, we have the next thing.
Connected for LVT flooring for central office to replace some of the carpeting. Actually, we're going to stay with the same vendor that you just approved the carpeting for, which is RD Weiss, even though it's comparative price. So the motion would be to recommend that contract for $8,063.77 to RD Weiss. And again, we received samples on the LVT today. You want to see those? They're Pam's office as well. The Westbrook floor samples wouldn't match the other ones in the building.
Are they local, this other company?
RD Weiss is out of Madison.
Oh, okay. I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second, Jim? Second by Jim. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Trent, thank you.
Okay. For the high school patio, you see there was 2 bids that were accepted, that were opened. And we're making a recommendation to award the northwest patio to Barton's Landscaping for $31,500.
So moved.
Karen moves and do a second. Okay, Eileen, second. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Very good, motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, so last for the masonry around the sign at the middle school,
Pretty sad.
no bids, however, there's a contractor who's been contacted directly and is trying to work on a quote for us because we do need to have the work done.
In order to close out.
In order to close out the building permit, we have to do this work. although we haven't received any bids, we now have the ability to contact contractors to see if we can get a quote. They have been contacted, Pam is on it, but there is no bid that you need to award this evening, for that.
So hopefully, do you think we would have it by the 24th?
Well, we probably will have it by the 24th. So we can bring it back if that's your preference, or under the, contract, if it's a sole source, which in this case, it's the only person who would bid on it,
Then you can move forward.
then we can move forward.
Okay, good.
What does it entail exactly in Masonry?
So when zoning approved putting an electronic sign at the middle school. If you're familiar with the electronic sign at the high school where it has the red brick around it, that was part of the requirement. For the sign at the middle school. And at the time. It was gonna be done within town resources, and for some reason it never happens. When I was at town hall, for another reason, they said, hey, we need to talk to you about your open building permits, and. You know, this is one of them, and so we have been trying since that time to get someone to tell us. How to build that structure around it after the sign was put in. So, we're just working to close that one in.
Wonderful. Very good. Okay, thank you. Required, at the end of the items for bid requests, and I think that's the items, that's all we need to have on our agenda at this time. We'd like to bring into executive session to discuss personnel matters, the superintendent summative and contract discussion. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? We have a motion. And secondly, Jeff, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Do we need to
You'll take
invite?
a 2-minute break.
Yeah. Two-minute session, well, let's take a 5-minute break.
And let's release the students.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Let's-
Thank you, Stu. Good luck, guys.
Let's see.
We
Second, we need to do it.
Yes, now we need.
Oh, are we, oh. We're there.
Yes.
Let's not make it that. Open session 8:51.
Okay.
Motion.
Yep, who made the motion?
I did, Karina seconded it.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Okay. Vote.
Let's go, we're trying to go home.
All right.
Alright, it's unanimous, then, no votes. Thank you, Karen. Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the term of the superintendent's contract from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028 as presented. Second.
We have a motion in the second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you.
We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. Yes, now I say thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, so, yes, let's have a motion to adjourn. So, second. Okay, all those in favor, I'm sure we're all in favor. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.